Yo, what is good and welcome back to the Silent Grace channel. If you're new to the channel, please smash that like button and subscribe. We are diving on into top 10 wrestlers who were drunk on the job. Alright, let's get to it.
Number 10, Jake Roberts. An infamous pissed-up performance from an infamous industry pisshead, Jake Roberts' Heroes of Wrestling turn was a darkly amusing glimpse into the darker path the Snake was still confined to before he finally defeated his demons. Not long before Beyond the Mat laid bare the extent of the damage he was doing to himself, the WWE icon exposed himself in more ways than one. Almost serving as a broken tribute act to himself, Jake catastrophically blew his gambling analogy, "That's not how 21 works, Jake," before taking to the ring and pretending to masturbate with his snake before his bout was turned into a tag match just to ensure everybody got through it unharmed. Number 9.
Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts was a character back in the day. You never knew what to expect whenever it came to Jake Roberts back in the day. He was crazy, for sure.
John Bradshaw Layfield. Yep, you guessed it. We're talking about One Night Stand and his run-in with the Blue Meanie. You get a bingo! Former WWE champion and figure of loathing amongst the ECW faithful, and What Culture office I might add, JBL was an absolute riot on the One Night Stand commentary track he provided as a DVD extra thanks to just how tanked up he got during the event. But his actions were worse than his words when required to engage in a physical finale. Infamously smashing the Blue Meanie's face to bits with a series of stiff shots as the show-closing melee unfolded, Bradshaw's unprofessionalism was undone by a brief television program between the pair that appeared to figuratively heal the wounds inflicted upon Meanie's unsuspecting face via a brutal chair shot from Steven Richards. How's that taste, John? Number 8.
Now JBL, he was awesome in the ring though. He was a great superstar, and he paved the way for a lot of these superstars today. I mean, he did some crazy things throughout his career, but still, he paved the way for a lot.
Scott Hall. Art imitated life when WCW booked Scott Hall to act out some of his darker nights under the bright spotlights of Nitro and Thunder in a desperate grab to reclaim notoriety during the Monday Night Wars. And let's be honest, they've done worse. By 1998, the bad guy was having a bad time keeping his addictions under control, and in a creative call Eric Bischoff himself has since admitted regretting, the company introduced his struggle on TV, with the former Razor Ramon completely unable to control his drinking in the face of his weekly pro wrestling responsibilities. Hall staggered out to matches late, looking unkempt, took cheeky swigs in between moves, and even vomited over himself and others as he endured entire nights out on Fast Forward to try and pop a quarter-hour rating. Lovely. Hall was closer to death than most before a remarkable DDP-led turnaround in 2013, and this ill-conceived program 15 years earlier eerily foreshadowed the sadder times to come. Number 7. William Regal. Losing...
Scott Hall, he was awesome. He was great. It's just a tragedy what happened to him, during his final days. Like, he was trying to get his life back together, and them demons just took control of him at a younger age and just took a toll on his body and pretty much destroyed him. And it's just sad, though, that he's no longer with us, and it's a shame. These younger guys with what they did in the past, and it came back, and unfortunately it took them out.
The battle against dependencies that had developed over several years of hard graft with WCW and during rehabilitation from a painful leg and ankle break earlier in the year, Regal was almost always able to mask the worst of his struggles bell to bell until his limp real man's man gimmick called for promos to augment his television tussles. A particular Monday Night Raw bout with Goldust in November 1998 presented a rather damning case against the former Lord. Slurring through the entire speech, Regal sounded ready to call it a night before the bell, but his heaviest session was still to come, the pair going 6 stuttering minutes before Kane emerged, full of all of his typical rage, the grumpy bastard, to bring the bout to a climax as unsatisfying as the match itself. Number 6, Jeff Hardy. It took numerous bad decisions for the world to bear witness to Jeff Hardy's plight live on a wrestling pay-per-view, and some of them weren't even the work of the charismatic Enigma himself. Of course, Hardy shouldn't have gotten himself in no condition to perform, but that exact phrase was invented because of its literal connotations. He was categorically not fit to engage in a dangerously physical endeavour. Yet TNA management made yet another bad decision by allowing it to proceed. And here is my shocked face. Eric Bischoff was the face of said team, emerging before Hardy's Victory Road 2011 bout with Sting commenced to inform both of the revised finish in order to get Jeff out of there quicker than they'd recklessly gotten him in. Oh, and kill some time on the main event of one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever watched. The fact that no one knows whether it was drink, drugs, or a combination of both that were the driving force behind Hardy's vacant stare that night speaks volumes. Number 5, Matt Hardy.
Man, Jeff Hardy, though, he is a great person, you know, a great wrestler, but again, those demons, you know, that was taking effect of his life, and kind of messed his career up, but, you know, he's trying, you know, you got to give him credit where credit is due. He's trying to change, you know, now, but, you know, as he's getting older, he's starting to wind down as well, you know, and it's a shame, though, because he could have had a really, really, really good career, you know, but a lot of people look at him differently because of the situation that he, you know, the events that occurred, you know what I'm saying?
A recent WWE 24 special revealed the full extent of Matt's own problems with drugs and alcohol at the end of the noughties. In raw, previously unused interview footage, Hardy was shown falling asleep midway through a talking head, whilst friend and colleague Christian spoke with sadness at the prospect of losing him altogether. Sharing stories of seeing him passed out in his food, the pattern was all too familiar for the veteran not to worry about the very worst, particularly when Hardy left WWE under a cloud relating to his inability to conquer his demons in 2011. Thankfully, the Hardy Boys appear to have beaten their demons and are now just back being insane. Number 4.
Matt Hardy. Delete, delete, delete. Now, Matt was, he still is pretty good, you know, but those demons took effect on him too, you know. But both the Hardy Boys are great superstars.
Shawn Michaels. It all kicked off between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in 1997. After months, and to be honest, years of verbal sparring, escalated into a fight that very nearly chased HBK out of the organization altogether. It was, unsurprisingly for the era, his chemically loosened lips that triggered this kickoff, fueling a King of the Ring clash between the pair that ultimately failed to materialize. The petulant pair were pontificating in front of the public when Michaels delivered his infamous near-the-knuckle flurry that completely destroyed any shreds of trust remaining between the duo. Commenting that Bret had seen some sunny days lately, Shawn inferred an extramarital affair between Bret and Tammy Sunny Sitch, which, as you might expect, caused problems in Hart's private life and didn't belong anywhere near a live microphone. But on that night, neither did Shawn Michaels. For not the first nor the last time that year, Shawn had allegedly turned up to work so bollocks on a cocktail of drugs and alcohol that he couldn't really be relied upon to go out in front of the live crowd. The promo was instead designed to prevent any embarrassing hazards, but the Titantron turned out to be all HBK needed to create one anyway. Number 3, John.
Some of the things that Shawn Michaels did back in the DX days, wow. They would never get away with that shit today. That's for damn sure. Never would they get away with some of that shit today. Like, the DX days, the NWO days, you know, it blows your mind, like, some of the things that they did.
John Cena. A slightly more light-hearted entry here, thank goodness, as John Cena almost certainly wasn't as sozzled as he appeared to be whilst enjoying WrestleMania 34 from the crowd. I drank to get through parts 2, John. We all did. But his acting performance before a bizarre mini-match with The Undertaker was convincing enough to imply that their brief botch may have been partly booze-based. Truthfully, he genuinely looked happy to be sat in the seats for a change, engaging in a big banter segment on the grandest stage yet again. Cena was sopping pints and chatting with fans fortunate enough to find themselves sat next to one of the biggest stars in the history of the industry. A bit like when I sat next to Simon Miller at this year's WrestleMania. If rumours of his legendary quaffing, Cena's, not Simon's, are to be believed, he wouldn't have had enough time to do significant liver damage anyway. Jericho, Flair and others have spoke at length about his impressive exploits at the bar, and his years haven't advanced enough for 3 or 4 cold ones to knock him out. Yet. Number 2, The Sandman. The Sandman's been gleefully smashed countless times in a career bolstered by a hard-drinking, hard-living gimmick that didn't remotely stray from the path he walked outside of the industry. But selective sessions have lingered longer in the memory than others. A June 2000 ECW house show represented the nadir for reality, bleeding over into the extreme fantasy world. PW Torch reported on it at the time, and the details are no less grisly to read almost 2 decades later. Sandman took the house mic, held up his cane and said, "This is my big cane, and this is my little cane," pointing to his penis. After mooning the crowd a couple of times, Sandman dropped his pants, exposing his penis to the crowd. Heyman and Sandman ended up talking later in a bathroom, whereupon Jack Victory walked into the room expressing his anger with Sandman's cane shot and exchanged a few words with him. Victory reached over Heyman and hit Sandman with a forearm. Sandman retaliated by reaching over Heyman and driving his fingers into Victory's eyes. Victory grabbed Sandman by the ears and gave him 4 quick headbutts. The end. It's like the What Culture Christmas party all over again. Number 1, Andre.
Now, Sandman, that motherfucker, he was insane. Straight up. He was insane. Like, I actually met him at an indie show, and the way you seen him on TV is the way he was outside, you know, but things changed, he got his life together now, but back then, man, he was fucking, you couldn't even speak to him. He was an ass, but he's an awesome dude. He is, but he was an ass at the same time.
The Giant. The famous drinker, predictably, was on occasion a famous drunk. I mean, look at the size of his bloody hand here. With one of Andre the Giant's favourite hobbies eventually catching up with him between the ropes. A legendarily bad match from 1986 between the Giant and Akira Maeda fell to bits, thanks in part to Andre's altered state. Not about his condition or simply trying to make the best of a potentially disastrous situation, Maeda seemingly tried to embarrass his, well, wankered foe after totally losing his patience with the stumbling state of things. Kicking angrily at Andre, the match bordered on becoming a real fight as hard boots cut the 7-footer down to size. Shrouded in wrestling apocrypha, some believe New Japan founder Antonio Inoki wanted the mess the fans received in order to teach Maeda a lesson in humility, using a wasted and uncooperative Andre as a human weapon against the cocky upstart. As far as punishments go, it was cruel, unusual, and one I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And that's
Alright, here's a funny story about Andre the Giant. My pap actually met him at a bar, and he said when he walked in, he had his security and whatnot with him, but he said when he walked in, he actually had a duck to get into the doorway, and when he went to go and sit down, he took up 3 bar stools. And like we can use a cup, normal size cup to drink, he would take like the big pitchers, of alcohol, and he would drink like 5 or 6 of those or more. And before he would even start feeling, tipsy and whatnot. I mean, it's crazy though. I can't even imagine being that big and drinking 6 of those, pitchers. It's like, I would be passed out on the fucking floor somewhere. But thanks for tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, please smash that like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. You all take care.